So this week, me and Sunil worked together to look into the Google Virtual Reality Spatial Audio SDK in combination with Wise and Unity. And it works pretty well in Unity, but we were facing some difficulties in Wise with a few things, like one of which of those things was automation. And whenever we would bounce the Wise file into the Unity project, everything came out as stereo as opposed to spatial audio. So these are things that we're figuring out. And since there's not much documentation on GVR in Wise, there's not much we can go off of. It's just more trial and error and figuring it out.
We got a cube in there which acted as our audio source, and we automated the cube's movement across the around the camera in different axes, and that's how Dan was able to see if it was actually spatialized, and it turns out it was not exactly. So
yeah, it ended up being more of like a spatial filter as opposed to
yes,
spatial audio source,
which is weird,
but indescribably weird. I don't know how.
Yeah. We're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
to add to that, although this may not seem like it's related, but it is. We just discovered that we can mirror the Daydream's display onto an iPad, and we can do that for multiple devices at the same time. So if a teacher wants to look at what different students are looking at the same time, she can do that, or he can do that, and that's possible through the iPad. Why I say this is related to sound is because, well, we can't have the teacher interrupting the student, because that would cause, the sound to be kind of superfluous, and that's not what we're going for. But we do want the teacher to know what the students are going through inside VR, so that they can guide them better once they're finished with the experience.
yes.
And we now know that that is a possibility because of what we did with the iPads. So,
Yeah. We want to try to induce as many senses as possible during this educational process, and one of those senses is auditory, since a lot of students learn in an auditory way.
This week, based on our three different pitch idea, I searched three different art style for our team. So we have discussed about the different art style, and we narrowed down two art style that all the team members really like. So now I'm trying to mix the two art style and try to find which is the better way to visualize all the game mechanism. So after our designer logged the text design, such like game mechanism, I will try to bring a lot of visualization of the interaction. So in our experience design.
Last week, we pretty much working on the quarter and collect the feedback from the advisor and other faculties. And after that, we dive deep on how to programming in Unity and how to, especially UI parts, and how to use the Google Daydream API. And I also made several prototypes and several workflow to know exactly what we can do and we cannot do. And for the next week, I might need to work with Mongyang to not visualize, but she will visualize the themes, and I need to base on what she gives me, and then I made some prototypes. And we will have a client meeting next week. Then he might need to decide which is the best for the UI. And so this week is pretty much working on the quarter and working on the UI part.
We had a quarters presentation this week, and that is a time when all the ETC faculty come by and we present what we worked on for the last 1 month, and they give us feedback on it. So we presented all the research that we have done, which included us talking to teachers and understanding which are some of the most difficult concepts. And we also had sent out surveys to programmers and non-programmers to understand which are some of the concepts that they have learned. And we learned that teachers mentioned that functions was the most difficult of all the introductory concepts, because functions are more abstract as compared to sequencing, loops, and conditionals, and so on. And also students are really used to writing long lines of code, and they're also used to copy-pasting code. So they don't really understand how functions could be reused and why they can be reused. And additionally, when it comes to parameters, students have to think ahead of time but they are just really excited to start writing the code. So it's difficult for the teachers to explain how parameters can be used to make the functions more efficient and used in the code. So we pitched that to our advisors and we got some really good feedback. We also pitched 3 of the ideas that we came up with and received some feedback about those ideas with them.
We showed these ideas to our client. We showed him also the subject we were interested in, and he was really into the subject we were interested in because it was an area he'd also been trying to tackle of trying to show why functions are important. And when we showed him our pitches, he gave some good feedback and he wanted us to go back and reiterate on it and come back next week with more in depth. But some of the feedback he gave us was like for the grow world, which was our idea of trying to have everything in the world run by functions and you interact with them by calling the functions. He mentioned like maybe trying to make it a tool belt instead and have like specific functions you have that you then have to like try to solve problems. For grow and shrink, he provided us very similar feedback because that one was focused on trying to grow and shrink objects in space and try to solve obstacles. And he really liked our automation stuff because that felt like it was a really good case of why functions, but he really wanted to see what the interface might look like and what the player would be doing. So we're going to reiterate on them, pick our 3 favorites, reiterate on those, and then come back next week with full fleshed out pitches.